Hey everybody, Terry Good here, and I am just doing some cooking in the kitchen, getting some food prep done, and I wanted to go over what I have going on. In the fall, we do a lot with soups and salads. So always with the salads, I like to take a bunch of different kinds of veggies and just chop them up. So I've got a base of arugula, and I've got the cruciferous crunch from Trader Joe's. You could put down some romaine, whatever you like. And I've got broccoli, carrots, radishes, some onion, lots of different veggies going on. So what I wanted to point out to you with that is that with the celery, when you buy celery romaine hearts, the inside, all that like softer stuff. Oh wait, do you know what that is? That's the timer. Hold on, I gotta grab something here. Stop the press. We're gonna be doing, we've got pumpkin bars galore. These are my grain-free, it smells like cinnamon and pumpkin awesomeness in here. My grain-free, I use coconut to make these pumpkin bars. So those, in my recipe book, I have them as pumpkin bites. I'm gonna top them with some cream cheese frosting. It's kind of like a pumpkin bar, and pumpkin pie filling got married and had a beautiful, delicious little baby. And that's what these little pumpkin squares are gonna be. So in the cookbook itself, I have little pumpkin bites. This is gonna be pumpkin bars, tasty. So those are done. We did 2 soups and a salad. So I was telling you about the salad. We've got a lot of different kinds of veggies in there. And the key with vegetables is you're trying to get 9 servings of produce a day. That's a half a cup raw, or sorry, a whole cup of raw vegetables. When you cook them down, they get smaller, so a half cup of any cooked vegetable. So that's why I like to do a lot with salads. And I'm very generous with my olive oil or my salad dressing. So if you're thinking, how does she eat all that, and use fat-free dressing? I don't use fat-free dressing at all. Okay, so that's the veg. With the celery now, I took the romaine hearts and chopped them up. And I used some for soups and some for salads. So that is my main veg. And then I have some extra veggies just cut up that I can use as something to dip in, okay? So if I wanted some finger food. Okay, so that's the main, like, cold, raw veggie stuff. Now, this is like the easiest recipe ever. I made it last week and it was so good. And I was ready to add something to it, but I ended up not having to do that. So this is just pre-cut butternut squash from Trader Joe's, okay? So it's very high in vitamin A and C, and there's 4 servings per container here, and it has 10 grams of carbs, 2 fiber. So full of A and C vitamin, like I said. It also has a lot of manganese in it too. So with this vegetable, it says right on the package, all you need to do is add a quart of bone broth, and I've got chicken bone broth here. And bone broth has more protein, and it also has collagen in it, which goes right into the joints. So it's super, super good for you. I try to do a cup of bone broth almost every day. So it's kind of fun when it's not just like plain bone broth. That's not exciting to me. So that's what I'm gonna do here. I'm gonna throw these 2 things in the Instant Pot together, cook them up, and then use a puree. Excuse me, 1 second. We're gonna use, voila, this guy to puree. So if you don't, this is an immersion blender. So you can put it into hot soups and it makes things pureed and smooth and delicious. If you don't have a pureer, you could easily put it into a blender and blend it, but when you're moving hot things around, it's kind of difficult. So I recommend an immersion blender. This one is the Cuisinart, and it was well worth the money. I think I spent $40 on it, but it was well worth it because it's held up for years and years and years. And some of my old ones I've had to toss them. Okay, so true confessions. The first time I made this, I made it with homemade bone broth. So when I make homemade bone broth, I always season it with a bay leaf, carrots, celery, and onion. So since I'm using pre-packaged stuff, I never think it tastes quite as good, but it's easier than making bone broth. It takes a lot of time. So here's my little hack. I've got a cup of carrots, a cup of celery, and a quarter cup of onion in here already, which is what I would normally season my bone broth with if I were making homemade. So I've got that in there. I'm just gonna throw it in the squash and the bone broth. So when I made this last week, I had some coconut milk all ready to go because I was afraid this wouldn't taste very good. It did not need it. It is so delicious. You can season it with salt, pepper, and maybe a pinch of nutmeg, because nutmeg goes really well with any type of squash. Okay, not a lot, just a little pinch of nutmeg. And literally, all I'm gonna do is put the lid on and let this baby cook for 7 minutes. So I'm gonna seal it, hit the manual button, and let it cook for 7 minutes. So it'll probably take about 5 minutes for it to come to temperature, and then it'll cook. And then I'm gonna let it slow release for 15 minutes, and then use the immersion blender on it. It's really that easy. So if you don't have carrots and celery available, the extra little things, I mean, you can get away with this. The extra carrots and celery just add a lot of flavor to it. All right, so that's soup number 1. You saw my salad. And then, of course, I made some yummy soup for Derek. So I can't have beef right now because I have some problems with storing iron. So red meat's not really good for me. But that's not gonna stop us from making taco soup for Big D. So general rules for this. Okay, remember, all of this is in my cookbook, but let me just give you, this is a flavorful one. It's the easiest thing. You just make some taco meat, a pound of it, with taco seasoning, like you'd normally make taco meat. And then I put in 2 cans of corn, like 13-ounce cans of corn, didn't drain them, 2 13-ounce cans of bean, and 2 13-ounce cans of tomato sauce. That's it. And then you cook it up, and then you eat it, and then you're happy. So that's Derek's soup. Quite honestly, I prefer this over the butternut squash, but butternut squash is good. Okay, and then my last thing I want to give you a quick visual on is this is a go-to staple for how I make salad dressing. So this is about 6 ounces of olive oil, okay? And then this is like a cool little salad dressing mixer, and it's OXO brand. I got it at the Container Store. So with that, it's already got my measuring on there. So with it being 6 ounces, I'm gonna go up to about 2 ounces of apple cider vinegar. And when you do apple cider vinegar, you wanna make sure you get organic, and you wanna get it with the mother. Okay, I got this at Walmart. It's not expensive at all. It's super cheap to make your own salad dressing, and it's so much better for you. So I've got organic olive oil, organic apple cider vinegar, and I'm just gonna put a couple pinches of salt in there, and this is gonna make my salad dressing for the week. A couple pinches of salt and some pepper. Now, on days where I'm really cooking a lot, like I had a couple things to do making those pumpkin bars, so I didn't do it. But a lot of times I'll just chop up a bunch of garlic cloves and put them in there too. And let that garlic sit in there. It's very tasty. I might still do that today. We'll see. You could also put in, say, a tablespoon of Italian dressing. That would also be a good way to season this. And this just makes a really tasty salad. So I'll take my salad, I'm gonna put some berries on it. So I like a little bit of sweet with my salty and crunchy. And I'm gonna put some berries on there and some feta cheese. And then I'm gonna put a good portion of this dressing on it. And those are my tips for this week's food prep. Thanks for watching.